Welcome to MBU Football Coaches Show. My name is Guy Danf. We're here with Coach B. Coach, this week the Spartans are again on the road as you're going to have actually a Heart of America matchup as you travel to Missouri Valley College. We know about last year, the big come from behind, big victory, and that was a very exciting time. That was done on Senior Day. I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of a highlight of that just 1 year ago as the Spartans got their 5th win of the season.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of that game last night, and like you said, we didn't play very good early, but stayed with it, kept fighting. I remember defensive line Raekwon and Gio had a pretty big day, especially in the second half, and we're able to get that win. I mean, they're a tough team and a very physical team, so they gave us all we wanted, and we came out victorious.
Well, one of the other things I will say for those that may be St. Louis Blues fans or hockey fans in general, there was a hat trick played in that game. That's because our own Jordan Simpson, our quarterback, teamed up with receiver Joseph White. They connected on 3 touchdowns. And again, another tie for a school record. And Coach, it's just real exciting, again, that game. And now I know you've been watching that film. So when you look at them now, the Spartans will be coming in at 1-5, 0-2 in the heart. The Vikings are coming in at 3-3. 0-2 in the heart. So both teams are now looking for that first win in the conference. And I was wondering, what have you said to your team to prepare for this week?
Well, I mean, just kind of the same stuff we have been saying week in and week out, that this is about us as much as anything else. Honestly, I was talking to the staff earlier today and last night, and not that we do this, but at this point right now, I don't think watching the film matters a whole lot. It's about what we do or what we don't do.
Right.
You're 6 weeks in. There's only so many ways to move 11 people around on the field, and we've seen a whole bunch of it, whether it be from our offense in practice or the games we've played. This is a very good football team, though. I know that. They're coming off a tough loss last week. They've got a new head coach this year. And they've got good size. They play hard. So, it's going to be a tough test. Playing down there in Marshall's not easy. We went down there 2 years ago and played a really good first half, ended up, not being able to hang on and get the victory. So it's a tough place to play, and we've got to be ready to go.
Absolutely. In case Spartan fans don't know, take a quick step back. You won your very first game, and in your last 5 games, you play 4 ranked teams. You played number 1 in Grandview, number 3 in Benedictine, number 23 in Mid-American Nazarene, and then this past weekend, number 25 with William Penn. Coach, I have to ask you, that's an insane schedule, but what's that been like?
Well, I mean, it's been a challenge. We've got a young football team, and like you said, I mean that's a gauntlet. But that's the heart of America for you. And we every year, I think when you look at this league, things can go in any direction.
Right.
I think last year you look at our record and how we finished where we did 6-4, and there's a lot of things you could look at, but there's a lot of things that just kind of bounced our way and went our way. And, we persevered through a lot. And this year we don't have the experience all the way. And, the ball's not bouncing our way. And that's the game, but we've got to, kind of regroup and refocus. And, we look at the last 4 games, and there's not a number next to those teams right now. Of course, Baker's playing pretty well. They just beat Mid-America, and but that's the heart of America. I mean, any team can beat anybody on any given week, and we're finding that out, and that it's really, like I said, about us. How do the Spartans want to beat the Spartans, or do the Spartans want to beat our opponent? And that's what we've got to focus on.
Right. Well, to kind of recap from this past Saturday against number 25 William Penn, we fell 48-14 on the road against number 25. Jacob Jones accounted for both Spartan touchdowns, finishing with 186 yards passing, 71 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. And of course, we've been saying his name practically every week, and that's Evan DeWilde again led the defense with 7 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble. Oh, Justin Lane also had a pick of his own, as well as Kenner By forced a fumble. And so, Coach, when you think about last week, I'll just say this from watching the game. I thought in the really first, quarter and maybe quarter and a half, Spartans were doing exactly what you wanted to do. Is maybe if you could speak to that, and maybe what happened as you guys were leading into halftime.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We were we were playing a pretty good football. Offensively, we were moving the ball. We had an unfortunate turnover on our first drive deep in our own territory on a fourth down. Um, that could have that's a situation where just things didn't align. I think when you not only was it a turnover, but when you watch the film, we had four guys moving before the snap, and that's one of those that happened in an NFL game yesterday. Where they get a false start, they fumbled, but it went back to the team, and they got a field goal. That's really what should happen. Unfortunately, we didn't get the call. The fumble, then Jacob stripped it out, and they felt like after a long review that the player had just hit the ground when the ball came out. Otherwise, we would have had the ball back first down. Jacob made a great play to get the ball out and recover it. We were playing it wasn't necessarily clean, but we were playing at a high level. It was 0-0 defenses getting stops. We had a turnover. And going into halftime is something we talked about this morning is just, it was 21-7, and I didn't feel like William Penn had really done anything to earn those 21 points.
Right.
They give up, we give up a 92-yard touchdown off of a missed tackle and a miscommunication in the secondary. We give up a 39-yard run right before half off of a missed tackle.
Right.
And then a pick six. So we're sitting there at halftime like, hey, we're not playing great.
Right.
We're still in it, and we've kind of given them. And I think that was just the tail of the tape. And, you go back to Benedictine where we're 55 seconds and it's 14-7, and we don't go into halftime 14-7.
Right.
So, we've got to do a better job of getting out of our own way. Kind of playing the next play, so to speak. I think right now our young guys are kind of pressing too hard, so to speak. They want to win so bad. They know that they could be in a different position, but at the end of the day, what you got to do is you got to focus on the process. You got to focus on just doing your job to the highest level on that next play.
Right.
You can't we can't become 5-5 in one play. We can't go make up 21-7 in one play. It's just, something we've talked about a lot, just chipping away and doing our job.
Absolutely. And, Coach, like I said, it seems like in the last few weeks against these ranked opponents, I mean, it seems like for a quarter or a quarter and a half, I mean, you're literally playing Spartan football, like the game script's going like you want, especially early in the game. A lot of times you have slower starts and then play well, but it hasn't been the case the last few weeks. I mean, you literally have come out of the gate and made a statement early, and then, like you said, then all of a sudden these turnovers kind of hurt the Spartans. Then obviously from there, but so this week though, you're going to face on Missouri Valley 3-3, and when you look at the Vikings offense, they're averaging just under 30 points a game. They're led by their sophomore running back, his name's Silas Morton, who's totaled 547 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. So obviously, I like to give the rock to him. So what have you seen on Hill? What are you do to kind of slow down that rushing attack?
Well, number one thing we've got to do defensively is we've got to be gap sound.
Okay.
And we've got to, that's something that we emphasize a whole lot. We've got to trust one another on the defensive side of the ball, that we're going to be in the right spot.
Right.
For whatever reason, again, you look at a lot of the points, a lot of the big runs, it was one guy getting out of his gap. And I shared this with the team this morning in our meeting, and something that a mentor of mine shared with me a long time ago is the toughest part about playing defense is if one guy's wrong, it's 7-0, whereas in the offensive side of the ball, if one guy's wrong, it's 2nd and 10.
Correct.
And we saw that over and over, not just on this past Saturday, but kind of throughout the year. A miscommunication in the secondary leads to a big play.
Right.
And when you get one guy out of his gap, it leads to a big play. And it's that's the way the game goes. And so we've just got to get back to making sure that everybody knows what their job is. I don't know if we can simplify it much more, but that's something as a staff that we have to do. And just make sure that these guys can go in and play confident, because what I've shown them and what we keep trying to preach to them is that when we do our job and we communicate and we align right, we're a really good team, really good defense, both sides of the ball. We move the ball. We can get stops against the top teams. it's just not being done at a high enough consistent level. And that's something that, it's not just a coach's thing, but, as we shared with them, they've got to take pride in their work. They've got to put a little bit more in study and they've got to trust what we're telling them. And ultimately execute. And what I'll say about this group is, when I say take pride, it's not that they don't care to do it right. It's just, really trusting it when the ball snapped and trusting the fact that, they don't need to press. All they need to do is do their job, because again, I think across the board, I'll use Evan as an example. Evan had a tremendous game. He also had some plays that I know he would like to have back.
Right.
And it's just he wants so badly to go and win a football game for his teammates and go make a play for his teammates. But sometimes the best thing that you can do is just stay in your lane and do your job, and that's the best thing that we all can do. I can't go and coach the offense or coach the D line. I can get everybody prepared as best as I can, and we all just got to continue to do that.
Absolutely. So, as you guys prepare on the offensive side of the board, is there anything, new that you're going to do that you haven't been doing already? It seems like you guys will implement maybe a few new wrinkles just to, obviously make it always interesting, if you would. Any kind of and things you want to share at all?
Well, I mean, I think it's early. I think the offensive staff always does a good job of coming up with a wrinkle that they see that they might be able to utilize. But at the end of the day, I think we've got to just be good at our basic stuff, or we've got to be better at our basic stuff. I think again, it's a consistency factor. When we do what we're supposed to do, we can move the ball up and down the field. We've got to eliminate turnovers. We were a little, defensively, we had 2 turnovers, which, was something we put a lot of pressure on them. Hey, we got to get a couple. We get a couple, but then unfortunately we turned it back over on the offensive side of the ball twice and kind of negates it. But, I don't think that it's necessarily anything that we have to do fancy. It's just sometimes less is more, and just get back to the basics and be better at what we do. I was watching a video yesterday of, Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, and something that they say is do simple better. And I think that sometimes that's what you got to focus on.
Absolutely. So, coaches, we move into the final stretch of the regular season, and it does not look like, at least in the last 4 games, as you close out, you're going to be playing any team that has a number next to their name. So that's got to, feel, I don't know, at least for me as a fan, right, as a broadcaster, I think that's a good thing, obviously, for the Spartans. But what basically have you said to your team now that you're coming down this last home stretch?
Well, it's real simple that it's time to take the next step.
Right.
And one of the issues that we've had to coach too much on is our effort hasn't been as consistent as what it needs to be. So if they don't want to play with effort, whoever it is doesn't want to practice with effort, then, they can see us in the spring, come down to scout team or get transfer papers. It's really simple. Because we have to expect and hold each other to a higher standard.
Right.
And, some of that comes within, some of that comes from us as coaches, but there is no reason why that we can't go win all 4 of these games. Our expectation was to go win the 5.
Right.
Obviously that didn't happen last week, but again, it's not about what the other team does. It's what Missouri Baptist Spartans want to do to salvage the rest of the season. And the only way to do that is one day at a time, one play at a time, and one game at a time. So we can't be looking ahead or saying, hey, Missouri Valley just lost to William Woods or whatever. They've got a really good football team. I know we've got a really good football team, but it's time that we step up and show it and start playing complementary football.
Well, it's going to be really exciting because the Spartans will be traveling this Saturday on the road to Missouri Valley for another Heart matchup. Kickoff will be at 2 o'clock. Coach, again, as always, thanks for being on the show. Of course, this is your show. Before we get enough, this is Coach B. I want to thank you for watching all right here on the Spartan Digital Network.